Broadcasting from the Mountain Home Services Studio, this is 97.5 KZNS FM Colville, 1280 KZNS AM Salt Lake City, and 102.7 KSL FM HD2 Salt Lake City Midvale. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
One of the coolest stations in the world.
Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio show for over 20 years.
Everyone's listening.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, and we are joined now by Tim LaComb, former BYU assistant coach, was on Rick Majerus' staff at the U, does Jazz pre-half and post now. Tim, good morning.
What's going on?
Oh, so many things.
You two cretins.
So many things are going on. There's so many juicy things, both positive and negative. But this morning, what we don't have is a bunch of middling stories. The stuff that generates emotion. So let's go right to you. You, Mr. Big Shot, got an invitation to sit courtside. You're awesome. However, when things started going south, did you find a reason to make yourself scarce? Like, no, this is getting ugly. I'm out. I gotta go. How'd that work?
No, I enjoyed it. I don't ever get to sit down there. You know where I sit. I typically just take the game in the studio because we got replays. You see things a little more, and
you listen to both broadcasts, so you hear a lot of people's takes on the game.
And have a couple other televisions to keep us in touch with what's going on in the world. So it's kind of nice, but yeah, I got a text and went down and actually was able to sit right next to T. Morant last night and get to know him. So it was kind of fun, kind of a fun adventure. But the game, I really thought the Jazz competed hard in that first half. The ball moved, shots were being made like crazy, and they had some life. And then the second half. Complete opposite. Obviously, Memphis was on fire. I think they missed 8 shots in the third quarter. And, a lot of that had to do with some of the energy. And obviously, Will filled everybody in at the end on how he felt about it, which he doesn't do a ton. But he definitely picks his spots. And last night was probably a good time to, just remind the guys what they're all there for.
It's really hard for me to understand when you look at this group that they put out there, with the exception of Sexton and then Kessler on the way. Everybody has so much to prove that they belong in this league, right? And so Hardy then says, telling it like it is. I was joking with DJ, watching the game, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear what Hardy has to say, and I was having fun with it and said I even was going to have popcorn. But the thing that got me, and I appreciate him telling it like it is for sure, it said a quote, at some point everyone needs to look in the mirror and understand what's asked of them to do and do it at the highest intensity they can. Even if you're a rookie, you've been in the league now for 70-plus games, how do you not know this? Because your very survival in the league is at stake. That surprises me.
Yeah, and along the lines of what he said as well, is he's been around a lot of guys through the years, and 15 years of coaching. And, the real solid piece, and Jake and I talk about this, Jake Scott and I talk about this all the time, that Will isn't one of those guys that gets up there and gets through the press conference. Like, he's very thoughtful in his answers, win or lose. And like I said, he kind of picks and chooses his moments to send messages. But that was pretty clear last night that along the lines of what he said a lot this year, here and there, but it's an honor, it's a privilege to get in the NBA. And I think, unfortunately, sometimes guys make it more about their experience, and really the key to survival is going out there, like you said, and doing whatever you can to help your team, whether that's and doing it with a good attitude too. And so I think he's hitting on some of that stuff for the young guys. minutes, as he said, typically in the league aren't just gifted. You've got to earn it. I mean, this year's been a little bit different with a lot of circumstance, but I think just shoring up the idea that if you're going to be here long term, you got to be bought in.
I thought he made that pretty clear in the postseason when he said the NBA stops for no one and our program stops for no one. That should be a warning shot that at least half the team last night, maybe more, put themselves right in the crosshairs, because he didn't say that the first time guys were unfocused and doing whatever. It happened multiple times. It has happened multiple times, and he has bit his tongue before, and now he finally let out some of the truth. I think there was more truth he could have said, but he just chose not to. He didn't think it would be productive, so he held on to a little more of it. And there's a handful of guys who I think get it, but, man, this roster's bound to turn over a lot. I don't understand why people make it so easy, unless it just goes straight to sometimes people are oblivious and sometimes people are entitled, and you probably have a gazillion stories from watching Majerus deal with that in the 90s, and you probably got another gajillion stories from watching Dave Rose deal with that.
2 gajillion?
Yep. That's what I think he has.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah. Because I think it happens that often. Because people succeed at one level, they get to the next level, and they don't fully grasp that it's much harder, and you got to get to another gear or 2 or 3.
Yeah, and not everybody has the ability to have those forward-thinking thoughts, and Will talked about that. Like, I've talked about this before. It's hard when this day and age at the grassroots level. I mean, we are giving kids everything at 14 years old, to come and play on our AAU team. And then we're giving them everything before they even dribble the ball in college a lot of times. And so obviously entitlement has crept its way in, not slowly, but pretty quickly through the years. And it is on the coach. I mean, the coach has to set that standard. I love how transparent and honest Will is. And I'm also really impressed, like you said, with his ability to hold back, because when I get going, I'm upset. I kind of say way too much, and I've always really respected Will's ability to say it, and then, be able to pull it back and move on.
College basketball and them Cougars, Sweet 16. I was texting with you on Saturday night. It's just something that has been a marvel to watch Coach Kevin Young do his thing. Young love abounding at BYU is so dominant in the way he's got these dudes to buy into everything. It's really, to me, just, I want to say, job well done, sir.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and salute as you say that. I completely agree. And you said the biggest thing there, PK. Like, everybody talks about coaching as X's and O's, and obviously it's that. You obviously talk about motivation, and it's that. But at the end of the day, what a coach really does is determine what roles are for everybody, and then coach them into that role. And I'll just go back. I sat courtside for the Arizona State game early in the year, and BYU won, but it was ugly. And their role definition at that time was given, but I don't know how many people were buying. And I'm shocked at how quickly it turned, and it does. Like, a ton of the credit obviously goes to this coaching staff and Kevin, because I do think making some tough decisions. Catchings was playing a lot, and he wasn't getting a lot done. I mean, he made shots, but defensively, kind of what we're talking about, you can't pick and choose your spots. You got to be able to go out there and carry up your end of the bargain. And so, although he was making a bunch of money at a big name, Kevin pulled him out of the lineup and started putting other guys in, found a role for Trey Stewart. Boscovich has totally bought his role when he's playing. He's in when he's, and he's all the way in when he's on the bench. He's cheering. So all of the scheme stuff and all that, obviously really impressive, but just as a leader of a team in his first year, facing some pretty heavy adversity, I would say. You know, I think there were a lot of people coming up to me going, I don't know if they've got the right guy. And you just kind of sit back and wait. But I'll tell you what, he's knocked out of the park. This is a fun team to watch. And, man, I'm really excited for him.
So along those lines, if you're coaching this team, which, you know, you and I aren't, but Kevin Young is, but you think right now he's telling his guys, we have got to stay poised against Alabama because they score a lot of points. They may open up a 10-point lead, but a 10-point lead in this game is going to be different. It's going to be much more NBA-ish and much less college basketball. If you keep playing, if you keep your poise and don't panic, you can get back in this game. They played a 97-90 game with North Dakota in December and a 95-90 game with Rutgers in November. Their schedule is just littered with these high-scoring games. So if you get down 35-22, don't panic, keep doing the right thing, and there'll be an opportunity to have a run and get back in the game. I believe that. A, do you believe it? And B, do you think he can get them to believe it? Or you get down, you panic, you take bad shots, and you make it worse?
No, I think they believe it, and I do think nearly every game this year that Alabama's played, there's been some heavy swings because they play at a crazy pace. So yeah, I actually think the locker room. I don't think Kevin needs to tell them a whole lot of that. I think the locker room is pretty clued in and really focused right now. I remember when we went back to the Sweet 16 and. I mean, it's pretty cool when you think that only 16 other teams are playing still, and you're one of those teams. So you're really focused. The level of focus goes through the roof. I mean, I was driving home last night thinking about. I mean, we were a free throw away from going to the Elite Eight, and unfortunately missed a couple opportunities. But those guys are so locked in right now. It's almost like a fortress around them. And I do think one of the great things about this team is you can see that some of that leadership is player-led. So I think they'll understand the rules of engagement. And you hit it on the head. Alabama's really, really athletic, plays fast, has a bunch of guys, and it will have an NBA feel. And they've just got to continue to play their way through regardless of the score because they'll make runs. But I think BYU can make runs too.
I think you guys with Dave Rose did an excellent job of getting role players to buy in. And I can recall one of Dave's frustrations was that they had some success and then they wanted bigger roles, right? But you guys thought, no, this was your role. And he told me once, sitting in his office, that his assistants said at the end of the year meeting with the players that Dave should just lie to them and just, oh, yeah, no, you're going to have a huge role next year. And then bring them back, put them in that role, because that was the role, and they could really be good in that role, but they wanted more, and then a bunch of them would leave. And that's the sort of the difficulty of coaching. You got guys who are accepting their roles in the moment and having success, and then that makes them think, well, I'm better than my role. How much, I mean, this is getting them down the line a little bit, but it's sort of an issue in college hoop in general, is guys flourish in a role and start thinking they want more. I mean, I guess Trey Stewart then would be the example of, hey, I got my role, and I'm just going to run with it, and here I am. And how do you deal with all that as they have success, but then they want more, but maybe their game isn't equipped to be more, but it's equipped to do really well in what you're asking them to do?
I think you reinforce the great things, and obviously you don't want to stunt growth. There's plenty of depending on the time. I mean, Trey's situation, it's his last year, so he went from the prior staff not playing at all to just getting a role carved out for him, and he finishes halves defensively. I think he goes out there intentionally and guards, the guy that Mag's guarding, and does a nice job to give him a break. But yeah, I mean, if he was a freshman and next year comes to you and wants more, I think he probably earned it. And you discuss that, but it's always, everything's in flux. And that is, I'm talking about from the experience of pre-NIL, I mean, the transfer portal's open right now.
Yeah.
Teams are still playing. I have no idea how you would deal with it today. I think if a guy came to you, wasn't good enough, and said, I want a different role, you'd probably say, well, there's the door, and we'll go recruit somebody else. Because not that it's that easy anymore, but if you've got money and connections and you feel like you can upgrade a position, that becomes probably less of an issue now.
Do you literally get up and hold the door open, or do you just point to it?
I would bum Phillips that thing. I'd kick it down.
Yeah, see, that's your Texas roots right there. That was old school.
Yeah. Well, we won't leave any.
That's like a
people have to look that
45-year-old
one up.
reference right there. That was
Phillips. I like it.
Thank you. I'm kind of I don't know. I like sports.
clearly.
Was he was Oilers?
Hey,
He was the
PK,
Oilers
I met-
coach, and they kept losing to the Bradshaw Steelers in the playoffs. And one year he said, we're going to kick the door down because they'd gotten blown out, and then they lost on a bad call, and now they're going to win it all, and they didn't.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, PK, I met somebody. Sorry to get off the subject. I met somebody last night. Thinks you're really cool. Both you guys, actually. I think listen to your show all the time, and yeah, they want us to come take part in one of their things. So I'll let you know what that means.
Okay. I'd love to take part in one of their things.
Tell Danny I'm really busy.
No, it's music related,
Oh, okay.
and it'll be a fun evening for us.
I have a lead singer opening.
No,
If
we don't want
Yak
to
were
do
here,
any
he'd be
of that.
playing the hits right now, but I don't know if Chicho knows where all the best stuff is.
If I had to choose what instrument you both would play, I would see.
You give me the
PK
tambourine and send me over to the side. That's what you do.
PK would play the piccolo because it's very cutting and sharp.
I want bongos.
So does everybody. David would play the French horn
French horn.
because it's got a little flair to it in style.
Okay.
And you? Itu?
Oh man, one instrument. In fact, I'm buying another one today.
Another
Little
guitar for you?
Yeah.
You're an acoustic guy, though, huh?
No, I play both.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I got a little Chris Stapleton I'm going to send you. I'm working on.
Oh, yeah. You should probably leave. One of
That's
my
the one.
favorite songs.
And there's the door. Bum kicked it down. Should I go through it?
I'm surprised Stapleton hasn't recorded one like that. Throw in a couple of drinking references and you're good to go.
That is the best part of that thing.
Tim, we appreciate it as always. You're the man. We'll talk to you again next week.
Piccolo French horn.
Okay. Thanks.
No bongos.
All right.
Bye.
Tim LaComb joining us every week. You hear him on the Jazz pre-half and post-game radio shows with our own Jake Scott.